dear friends, welcome to the final part of the tips for solving summary questions, of course, as set by WAEC and NECO, that is English 2. I am ONUGC, your guide. This is Honest English. Thanks for joining us. Now, in the previous video, we have discussed the very first 6 tips that will enable anyone to answer the questions in summary very effectively and then with a good score. So let's look at the last 6 tips for summary writing. Number 7 is number your sentences, of course, and answers. Now, usually summary questions come with numbers. They will say in 5 sentences or in 2 sentences, depending on what they want, summarize this or that. So since the questions are coming with numbers, of course it means then that your answers have to come in numbers. Numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4, or depending on the number required. And of course it's usually 6. So when you answer your questions, write the proper numbering. It's very important. It enables the examiner to mark and then award scores as may be necessary. So that's tip number 7. Number 8, give your answers in active voice. Now, of course, I believe we may have idea of what is meant by active voice and passive voice. It simply means that the structure of your sentence has to be in this form: subject, verb, object. This is the standard structure for sentences that are in active voice. And maybe as we go on in this series, we shall discuss in details how active and passive voices work. But it's just an aspect of grammar that has to do with arrangement of sentences. So your sentences or your answers must be in active voice. Look at a very simple example. Women bring up children. Okay? Women bring up children. So women here is our subject. Okay? Bring up, whatever is our verb, then children is our object. Now, it would be nice to start saying children are brought up by women. No, in summary question, no. It should be women bring up children and not children are brought up by women. Okay? So that is that. Now, number 9 is do not introduce dates and figures. Of course, in summary, you are trying to get just the facts, the main ideas in the passage. So there is no room for dates and figures, and unnecessary details are not important. Conjunctions, examples, and so on and so forth. They are not part of it. So avoid them. Then the next tip is that when a question requires a comparison, do it. That is, do the comparison. I want to take time to explain here. Now, in some questions, you may be required to compare 2 situations or 2 things. For example, a certain year, it was said that in 5 sentences, 1 for each, summarize the reasons or state the reasons why students, for example, in urban areas perform better than students in rural areas. Okay? You can see that there are 2 levels here: students in urban areas and those in rural areas. So if you try to answer this type of question, it means you have to say, for example, you can say students in urban areas have access to textbooks, whereas or while students in rural areas do not. So you are not comparing the two, of course, sets of students. So some questions can be that technical. So where you see such a questions, do not fail to compare as required. And do not write one part and leave the other part. So you have to answer the two parts together. So this is very, very important. Now also, avoid mindless lifting. Mindless lifting. Now this expression is used or is essentially used by the exam body themselves. So what it means is that you should not lift fully or verbatim the words from the passage in your answers. You should be mindful of how to choose to select words. If it's possible in most cases, do not use words from the passage, like I said before. But where it is difficult, you can choose one or two, of course, important words from the passages to present your answer. But you don't go copying or taking 2, 3, 4, 5 words from a sentence in your answer. No, that is not acceptable. And then finally, cross-check your answers with the questions. I've mentioned that earlier on. You have to ensure that your answers correspond to your questions or to the questions, okay? So it is not good that, for example, the question 1, you take the answer for question 1 and put it in question 2, or put the answer for question 3 in question 1. If you do so, you are going to create difficulty for the examiner who's going to mark your script. And the implication is that you lose your marks. So take your time to ensure that the answer you provided for question 1 is or corresponds with question 1. So question 2, the answer you provided corresponds to it. So that is how to answer summary questions. Dear friends, let me stop here for now. Like I promised, we shall have time to treat questions in summary for SSC, WAEC, and NECO. Thank you for joining us. Have a nice day.